Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here. So my name is William Gunadi. I'll be chairing the series of presentation for you guys today. So a few quick reminders before a lot of the series of the upcoming presentation. The usual stuff, keep your phones on silent so that it doesn't interrupt any of the presenter. Other than that, we're just going to kick it off straight away. First up, we have Stan Smith, who flew all the way from the US. He is the product lead for IBM Maximo Application Suite, and he'll be going through a few of the key changes and the strategic directions that Maximo will be going through, especially around asset investment planning, asset performance monitoring, and also field service mobility there. So over to you, Stan. Welcome him.
Thank you. Good morning. We've got a couple of different places where, I have no clicker. I probably was supposed to grab it from the back. Would you grab the slide clicker? I guess I'll just talk. There it was. I was supposed to grab it. Okay. All right. We have a few different places where we're going to talk to you about where we are right now within the suite and where we're going within the suite. Kendra touched on it, and so you might see a repeat slide or two in here, but we won't talk about it quite as long as originally intended. Then Joao Saudo, he's going to go more into depth around field service management, and then Lisa Stuckless tomorrow is going to do kind of an overall roadmap. What my focus is going to be more is transforming your work, and I'm going to focus more on three areas, okay? We all have started from a base of getting all my assets, getting all my people, my inventory, my work into my core system. Whether you started with EAM, whether you're still at EAM, you've got all of that information there. Those that maybe have just started on MAS and all, same thing. We've got our system of record around all of my assets, all of my content that's needed for me to be able to maintain those. And for many organizations, that is where you are right now, okay? I've taken the time to get that set up. I may still be refining that a bit and all. And so a lot of the question is, now that I'm at the suite, or now that I need to justify the suite, if I'm still justifying the move from EAM to the suite, what are the things that I can focus on next? Okay, what are the next steps? And if I look at presentations that I do, it's in a couple of different areas. A lot of it is, what are the next steps that I should be looking at for my organization? What are other organizations looking at, et cetera? And then AI. We always talk about AI. So that's probably part of most presentations. So today I'm going to talk about those next steps and that what should I look at to take advantage of? And then tomorrow I know I've got a presentation on AI, so I won't go too deep into AI. So if we look at the suite, the objective of the suite was to have a single spot where each of the different maintenance approaches that apply to asset management, you've got the ability to accomplish that within a single solution. Our objective would be that I don't need a third party for things like APM. I don't need a third party for things like AIO or AIP. I don't need a third party for things like scheduling, dispatching, and execution of work. So with that, our objective within the suite is, our foundation is this. And we've been talking about this slide for 20 years, okay? What's changed a little bit is the right side of the slide. Things like financially optimized maintenance, some of the prescriptive maintenance, condition-based maintenance, that was less of a thing 10 years ago than it is now. I've got more at hand to be able to do that. So, but the base of it has kind of evolved a little bit, but this has been our roadmap for quite a while, and it remains our roadmap. Now, with that, we have done a lot of investment into the suite, okay? All of those is really to accomplish some of the things that I mentioned, which is to be able to effectively cover each of those maintenance approaches so that you can pick and choose that for each of the different asset classes you have in your organization, what's the appropriate approach, and do I have the tooling to allow me to do that? So if we look at where we were for those that maybe started at the EAM level, you can kind of see that gold represents the capability that was in EAM. So, this journey of investment into MAS started back in the 2020 timeframe. And you can see just from the core system, kind of going off of what the capabilities are, there's a lot more there in MAS than there was in EAM. And if I look at the main areas, and I'm going to touch on these as we go along here, which is the fact that there's a set of, big areas are manage improvements, field service management, APM, and then improved access and more information. This is where things like asset investment planning come in. So I'm going to talk field service management, asset performance management, and AIP. We have a good base. Kendra showed her little chart in there of where we are with the different analysts. What's important to us is that we bring forward a solution that is effective and that has the capabilities to allow you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. It's nice when the analysts validate that, and so whether it's on the EAM or the APM side, we have that in there. And then also now we also are included in the leader quadrant for field service management. The things that we focus on, metrics and all, extending the life of our assets, productivity, operations costs, managing risk and all. These things are things that are known to each of you. They're the reason that you got the systems in place. All right, so Kendra touched on this, but you'll see the areas that I'm going to talk about. Asset investment planning is really a part of the key planning phase. Within the operate side of getting work done, that's where FSM falls. Optimise is where APM falls. You're going to see these slides once or two more times as we go. Kendra showed the same thing. You can see investment planning, field service management, and the whole category is called APM overall. So let's go in a little bit further into each of these. So let's start with field service management. So Kendra used a phrase that we use a lot, which is the fact that, the reason for doing this is to get the right work scheduled at the right time, with the right skills, with the right parts, so it can get done right the first time. There's a whole lot of rights within there. But if we look at field service management, it's really trying to do that so that when the work comes in, I've got the most effective path to get a technician to the work so that they can execute the work and the work can get done that first time as they're going through it. And Kendra touched on the fact that this journey, and Lisa Stuckless and I were standing in the back saying it's been at least a 10-year journey to get all the pieces together for field service management. So with that, our objective was to get to the point where you can go about this in a thoughtful fashion. Whether your first step in here is saying, all right, my first step on the field service management side is to get mobile devices in the hands of each of my technicians so that when they're out there doing the piece of work, they've got the information in front of them to be able to know what to do, to ensure that they've got the right parts and materials there, and when they finish the work, to be able to record that they got that done, put the right failure code in there, record labor correctly, record the parts that were used, complete the work order, and move on to the next one. While they're there, I want to have them have access to things like the various different docs associated with it. Maybe I've got additional information about how to get my work done in there. And so with that, we also want them to be able to get at that, whether you're in a connected mode or disconnected, okay? So we've got these different steps that we want to do within here, and I'm going to touch on each of these as we go. So this one, you saw the rights on there. I already went through that one. And so with that, a lot of As we look at what we're trying to do with let's start with the scheduling and dispatching, is to be able to deal with the scale of work that needs to be accomplished. So if you've got people that need to evaluate each piece of work, then be able to go in and go through various different panels to figure out, all right, what's the state of the work order? Do I have the right technicians in place? Do I have the right inventory in place? There's a lot of steps to go through within there. And so with that, part of this is by bringing in, we've got an analytic engine in the back, running in the back here, but it allows you to go in and do this at scale, so that a single dispatcher or supervisor can handle the volume of technicians they have or the volume of work that they need to handle for whether it be a given location or a given group of them. I want to try to automate it as much as I can where I want it, make sure my technicians have the right information in front of them. When I'm trying to figure out my schedule, it'd be nice to be able to do a series of what-ifs in here. So, what if I'm going to use this set of criteria and all? What does that mean for a schedule? So be able to try different options in there with different KPIs and figure out what's the baseline I want to use to start with. So these are some of the fundamentals that we have within it. So let's go to the next one, which kind of lays it out. So one of the things that we've been doing within Maximo is to move beyond the form-based user experience that we all know and love called classic Maximo screens. And if you look at that UX is what I would call form-based. I'm either filling in a form or the fields necessary around there, or I'm reading off of that, but it's really, we tried to optimize how you can configure and what fields you see and all of that and all, but it's a very form-based user experience. If we look at where we're going with Maximo and where we've gone, is to try to modernize that experience. Get a dashboard in front of them, okay? Dashboard that's got the KPIs I care about, the work I care about, the ability to delve into the rest of the system and all and get back to my dashboard, the spot that I'm going to live. And so one of the things, area where we've introduced this is a scheduling dashboard and the dispatching dashboard. So these are the components that make FSM up, and scheduling is saying, 6 months out from now, a year out from now, I want to make sure for the work that's expected to be done that I've got the inventory in place and I know what skills I need to have in place so that X amount of time out from now, I'm not reacting to the fact that I don't have inventory or I don't have the right technicians in place for it. So that's that longer term view. Then from there, the dispatching is really that view of saying, I'm now focused on getting the work to the person who has the right skills to be able to do this, and I want to be able to use a set of criteria so that I know the most important, the things that I've determined is most important is getting to the right technician. And with it, it's leveraging the optimizer. So the optimizer is a constraint-based AI tool that looks at the various different constraints that you've prioritized for the work in your organization and gives you a recommendation that you can either choose to do or you can let it do it yourself, do it directly, but getting that work assigned out. You still got a drag and drop interface where you can adjust it around here, but with that, the optimizer is that engine running behind it at all times. And that same engine is there for when an emergency work order comes in and you need to figure out who's got the right skills to do it. And so there's a number of things that you can do with the optimization engine running behind the dispatching dashboard. And then it all comes down to the mobile device and the technician. And so with that, Maximo Mobile, what we've done is, there's a variety of mobile solutions out there. What we've done within ours is we've integrated it together with the scheduling and the dispatching work. So I've got the ability to go in and, get my scheduled assignments and all. I can get my real-time timestamps off of there. I've also got remote collaboration off of the mobile device. And then also, if an emergency comes in, I can send a notification out to the technician to be able to go in and allow them to resync and all, get that transaction, and go off and do that piece of work overall. So from an FSM side, from the mobile side, you know, the technician app is the one that kind of falls in there, and inspections also. But from the mobile side, we've got the complete suite of mobile applications now. So all of maintenance and all of inventory is covered. We've also got a incidents application, and we'll continue to flesh this out with additional applications. But from a FSM side, as mentioned, we're now to the point where, you know, we've been on this journey. We are now assessed as a leader overall in here. And I would say that it is the first thing that most organizations are looking to kind of optimize within their MAS environment, or even an EAM before that and all, is, you know, I want to do a bit more mobile, okay? Now I want to do a little bit of more forward-looking planning and all, try to make sure I don't have shortages and all. So maybe I want the scheduling dashboard. And then, you know, I want to arm my supervisors or my dispatchers with kind of that real-time view of where work's going on that's enhanced by an engine and all. And so with it, it's the dispatching side of that. And these are interchangeable. You can implement these in any order, but it's all around work execution, which is the fundamental of what we're trying to get done. All right, so let's talk APM. So APM comes into play when you get tired of the fact that you've got PMs that are continually coming up, and you're worried that maybe I'm under-maintaining or over-maintaining my assets. And with that, if I had the ability to go in and understand the condition of an asset at any point in time, and then make my maintenance recommendation based on the condition of the asset at that time, then I am maintaining the asset at the right sequence overall. And so if we look at all of the things around APM and condition-based maintenance, it's all around that, understanding the condition, making decisions based off of the condition of the asset. And with that, this is another of those that has had multiple releases worth of effort. We've got a few pieces that need to come together there. We've got a health module, we've got a monitor module, but it's really around the health is the basis of it that helps to determine the condition of the asset. Then I also got the ability to bring in data from whether I've got sensors on there and I bring them in directly, whether I've got a historian in place, OSI Pi or Aviva Pi, and I bring a feed off of that, whether I've got inspections going on and I just have a technician that's recording what the current state of the asset is. All of those are feeding a meter in Maximo, okay? And a meter is the core of determining what the condition is, and then I'm able to go off of there. We've also got a asset and location dashboard in there now, so that I've got that view. I can go in and look at what's occurring on an asset at any point in time. The thing that we have done around this is making it easy to get started. So Kendra made mention of this also, but much of the data that you need to do APM is already in your system, okay? If you know when the asset was installed, okay? If you know the expected life of the asset and all from the manufacturer, you've got a fair amount of data already. We've got information about what work has been done on that asset. You maybe have put in some criticality scores on it. There's a variety of different things that you may have implemented over time. And so when Health Made Easy was our term, it kind of came out in the 9.0 timeframe. But when you install the health module within Maximo, you automatically get 3 scores on your assets. And you can see those for any asset, and you can start to look for patterns in there. Are there locations that are in particularly bad shape? Are there asset classes that are not up to where I want them to be? But it allows you to get started with that. Now, this is kind of that dashboard. You can see the 3 scores, health, criticality, and risk. And you have that for every single asset in your organization if you enable the health module. So with that, configurable dashboard allows you to get the information that you care about on there. And with that, I think we are at a point where those that want to delve into the world of APM, pick an asset class, okay? You've got health in the suite already. All you have to do is enable it, and then pick your first asset class you care about, whether it be a particular type of pump, whether it be a transformer, whatever it is, and get started. And then once you get that going, move on to the next one that it matters to your organization. But it's all there and waiting. And with that, the other thing is I mentioned to you that being able to determine the condition of the asset, there's a degradation model that's associated with it. That's the basis of that. It's a Weibull distribution, just to be more precise for the deep engineers in here. And with that, to get started, you've got to have some type of model in there. And as I mentioned, it can be as simple as when I installed it, what's the expected life? But maybe I want to go a little bit deeper and take advantage of what other customers have learned over the years and all. So we've got a set of out-of-the-box models, whether you've got transformers, circuit breakers, work your way through here. A lot of these have come from the E&U industry, but there's some that go beyond that. And with that, those are all available to you out of the box with Maximo, so that if you've got that type of asset, you've got a deeper level of analysis that you can choose to leverage when determining the condition of your asset at any point in time. And with it, we encourage partners and others to do that. You can also generate your own models, okay? And so we've got the tooling in there to be able to do that. But with that, we believe that if we can give you a good set of these to start with, it helps in that time to value side. The other thing that we're doing is condition-based maintenance is ripe for the usage of AI. The more data you can consume, and the more quickly I can consume that, is something that is very tailored to what we're doing in APM. And so I'll talk about this a bit tomorrow, but insights. We're used to AI from asking a natural language question and getting something back, okay? We're used to, submitting something to it and looking for a result to come back. Where we're going to get to with this, and we're going to get to it in the 9.2 timeframe, which is June of this next year, is insights. Insights says that I've told the system what matters to me, and when a set of conditions are met, I want to be provided insights about that, so when I come in and look at my dashboard, I've got a set of insights that are waiting for me. That insight may be 28 work orders in the last 90 days and all. I've set some criteria there, but when that criteria is met, I want to know about it, okay? When I then click on that, I'm able to go directly in and look at what generated that insight, and Kendra had the demo running in there, but it'll show you a lot of details in there about why that criteria was met, what the insight is from that, and what is it that is occurring within my organization. And so you can think of these agents as things that are getting to the point where things that are continuously running, and they're bringing me information for something that I've identified to the system that I want to know about when that happens, okay? And so with that, this is an area that, watch this space. If I look at areas that are being heavily invested in on the AI side, it's going to be around asset performance management. So the other area, this is the third of three, so I'm staying pretty much on schedule here. The other area is asset investment planning, okay? And so asset investment planning is kind of a software area that is just a standalone software area in the industry where organizations are looking at the amount of investments that they're making in their assets, and they want to do a deeper analysis to try to optimize what that investment approach is going to be. A lot of times those are standalone systems, and standalone systems says I've got a great way to analyze, but I got nothing I can do with it afterwards other than I'm smarter than I was before, but I can't really take action on it unless I go in, type it in myself, or make a bunch of changes. So with that, from an AIP side, it's really using a set of analytics to help make better decisions of how to invest in your assets over time. With it, a lot of times we call it the repair, refurbish, replace decision. Okay, which one should I be doing? All of you are doing a whole bunch of repairs right now. Okay, and that might be the only thing you're doing analysis on. What's my optimal approach to repair? Whether I'm doing reactive work, think of that first chart that I showed. It might be reactive, run to failure. It might be a bunch of PMs that I've got out there, or it might be condition-based maintenance on a set of things. So that's helping you set your maintenance approach, your repair approach overall. But how long do I repair an asset? When have I gone long enough and all, such that the amount of repair that I'm doing and the amount that I'm spending on that for repair is not optimal anymore? I really should consider a refurbishment or a replacement of that asset. That's all this is, okay? AIP is simply an integrated way for you to be able to go in and analyze the assets within your organization to determine when should I refurbish that asset? When should I replace that asset? And you've already got the repairs set up in your system. So this is that refurbish, replace decision. And as you use the tool, when I decide what I'm going to do, it's actionable. I generate the work inside my Maximo system, and I can assign that out to my work crews to do refurbishment and replacements and all, and I manage my workforce all in the same way using field service management, okay? So let's talk a little bit about that. Why do we need to do this? You know, we've got all kinds of things as to reasons to be able to justify this. As far as the AIP side, the challenges that is trying to be addressed here is dealing with some of the approaches that are there. You know, whether I'm just making my decisions off of the install date of the asset. Maybe I make decisions off of some ad hoc thing, okay? You know, I've been around this asset forever. I kind of know when it's getting bad based off of what I hear as I walk by it. You know, whatever your means might be for that and all. We also have a lot of siloed decision making, and we're dealing with the things that are happening to us now, okay? I've got these crises, and that's my first focus, and I often don't get to the point where I can look forward a little bit. So with that, within AIP, this uses the same optimizer that we leverage for field service management, so it's a constraint-based AI tooling, and with it, allows you to go in and decide on what are the criteria that matter to me. I can do a series of what-if analyses on there, generate a series of scenarios, and pick the one that's best for what I want to do. And with that, I've got a value framework in which I can capture the things that matter to me and put some criteria around them. And as I mentioned, it's integrated into the suite. So once I make these decisions, that work gets generated into the suite. So let's talk just a little bit about this. You know, this is all around asset risk more than anything. I mean, there's a cost element associated with it because I've got a cost when an asset goes down. I've got a cost if I'm over maintaining it. I've got downstream impacts, but risk is really the basis that we're using here. And with it, we're looking at the consequence of failure times the probability of failure to determine what my risk is for a given asset. So as far as the consequences of failure, there's a variety of different factors in there. It might be public relations related. If I'm a utility and all my customers don't have water, that is probably going to be very impactful overall because everybody knows when that happens. When I've got a blackout, everybody knows when that happens. I've got financial performance. I got replacement cost, collateral damage, revenue impact that can come from a failure. We got safety and we got sustainability. So all of these are trying to capture what are the things that matter to me as I'm making this decision, because I want to get it into a framework so I can use that as the basis for all of my analysis. So with it, that's the value framework, okay? Allows you to come in and customize this. We've got a set of different things that are out of the box and all that you can look at, but it allows you to go in and decide what are the values that matter to me, what is the scope that I want to have, how much do I want to spend by year on CapEx, what's the OpEx spend I want to have per year, what is the risk that I want to have as I measured within Maximo. So there's a variety of different things that I can use as far as setting my values. Then from there, the other part is defining the probability of failure. What's the likelihood that this asset is going to fail or going to have degradation to the point that it affects the service, all right? And so with that, some examples and all. I've got different things that I'm going to look at for, I might have a linear degradation in there. It might be, I've got a step change risk after certain years. But with that, I've got the ability to go in and define what is the probability of failure, and then what are the interventions that I can have to deal with that. Some of them, it might be a refurbishment. Others might be a replacement. But I can create this grid, okay? And then with that, I've got the ability to view this, okay? And so this is kind of the dashboard in there showing it. But this is my end-of-life curve, okay? This is the probability of failure curve as I go along here. So then, and you can see I mentioned to you the asset interventions. You can go in and look at the details of each of the interventions that you've identified for that asset. And now I bring it together, okay? So let's talk about the optimization part. So this is where I bring together the formula, which is the probability of failure and the consequence of failure. So we determine our scenarios that I want to do, and so you set some criteria in there. You determine your policies for an asset, and with that, the objective is really right there, which is to find the optimal sequence of interventions to keep your assets performing at the best level and optimize my total life cycle. Okay, I want to minimize costs associated with it while making sure that I satisfy those constraints. So with that, how do I get started in this? So this is not a new thing. Y'all have probably been doing some variation of this for a long period of time. People have been replacing assets for a long time. People have been refurbishing assets for a long time. Whether you've got a spreadsheet, whether you've got Joe in the back room, whether you've got whatever, but you've got some methodology you're using to determine that as you go along. It also may be due to when can I get funding for it, and so, but if I get funding, which ones am I going to pick, okay? So AIP is simply that stage to say, maintenance is rolling, okay? I got that, okay, that's going along here, but I want to do a level of planning around my assets because I know I can do it a bit more efficiently or effectively. And so with that, how do I get started? I mentioned with APM, how I get started with APM is pick an asset class, get it working for one asset class, then decide what the next one is after that, and the next one is after it. Same approach here, okay? Start with the general one, figure out kind of a basic effective age module, start it with one of an asset type of interest to you, and then kind of get it going, see how well that works, strive for improvement, not perfection, and refine the first one and then move on to the next one, okay? So all of these are available to you within the suite. This has no futures in it, okay? Well, the insights portion on APM was a little futuristic, but that'll be here by June of this coming year. But these are all things where what is available for me as I decide what the next step is of my Maximo journey. And just wanted to kind of highlight a set of those. I forgot to mention at the start that I like interactive sessions, so I should have let you ask questions as we were going through it. I know my slides and all, so we'll open it up now for Q&A. So are there areas you've got questions on, or things you'd like to know more about, or understand what we're thinking, or why we did this or that, or any feedback around this? So any questions at all?
If you have any questions, just raise your hand up and I'll bring the mic on to you.
Yep.
Well, I do have a question, Stan.
All right, let's
while
go.
I walked my way there. In this event, we have a lot of clients and a lot of business partners in the room who I'm sure have a lot of constructive criticism and feedback for Maximo. What would be the best mechanism to reach out to the product team and have that be part of the Maximo roadmap?
Yeah. So we have a lot of different ways in which we engage. One of the things that's kind of unique about Maximo, so I was legacy IBM. So I was legacy IBM when IBM bought MRO software. And one of the things that was really unique about MRO software is they talked to their customers. Okay, IBM didn't always do much of that. And so this whole concept of reaching out to all of you to figure out what you're doing with the system, what you would like it to do, was a strange and foreign concept. I mean, I developed operating systems. I didn't need to talk to users. We knew what we needed to do. And I think that was the case for a lot of things. So with that, one of the things, and now you're probably bombarded with surveys and other things from IBM because we figured out across the board that it's good to get feedback, okay? And that feedback comes from a number of different places. We've got user groups, we got advisory councils, there's a number of things like that. There's opportunities like this where we're in front of a large group to give information, but also the presentations that people do is input. And with that, as I will mention at any conference and all, we're here at your service for these meetings, okay? So we're here so that you can come to us with questions and input as we go along through here. So there's these types of engagements. There are a variety of different online means to be able to provide feedback, but one of those is what we call the Ideas Program, okay? You all might refer to that as requests for enhancements and all. But with that, I didn't include the slide in here, but this input is serious to us. And so Lisa's got the slide. She just gave the nod here. She's got the slide in there. But we took over 1,000 ideas that came from customers, were included in the 9.1 release. All right, no, 173. 173. Votes were over 1,000, yes. So with that, take the time. If there's something that you need within the product or you think we should know about and all, there is the ability to create an idea on it and tell us what you're trying to do with it. Tell us about what you see as the gap within there and what you're going to accomplish from it. Because, you know, you got the ability to look at other people's ideas and vote on them and all. Votes are interesting, okay? But vote with context is going to have a lot more value than just a vote. So tell us what you're trying to do there. We also have sponsor user groups, okay? And that's another way in which you can get involved as we're going through the development side. Another question.
Hi, my name's Ryan. I'm from the Bureau of Meteorology.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question around how do you optimize scheduling a technician without populating every technician's work-life commitments and considerations around privacy?
Yeah. So the only information that we leverage for the technician is what their availability is and their skills, okay? And so with that, there's no privacy with availability and skills. You tell the company when you're available or when you're expected to be available. As far as skills, you've got some certifications and all that validate what skills you have, okay? Now, with that, that's what's leveraged, all right? Now, we do skirt it a bit, okay? Because we also know where the device is, okay? Device is an indicator of where the technician potentially is, but I want to know, it is helpful to know where the technician likely is so that I can factor in proximate work, okay? So it will get factored in also, but it'll be the device's location. So, you know, what we do then is we optimize the scheduling that we do based off of the work time available for that technician with that skills, based off of where the work is, based off of where the technician is. And there is in the optimizer, there's a whole bunch of sliders in there that you can determine the relative priority of each of those and what should be included in there. But there's a lot of things that can be factored in with it. Good.
Thank you.
We're at time.
Thank you so much for a great presentation there. Just a round of applause for Stan.